Have you ever walked into a place that made the air feel different? Quiet, thick, almost alive, as if the wind itself was holding its breath? That was how the ancient, winding path leading to the great Iroko Tree of Ede felt. The village of Ede was a small, quiet place, woven around the rhythms of the stream and the sun. Life here was a measured thing of planting, harvesting, and communal gossip under the shade of mango trees. But the Iroko tree stood apart. It was a giant, a sentinel with roots like muscular arms digging deep into the earth. It was older than the oldest man in the village, and its high branches were rumored to brush the home of Olodumare, God. No one in Ede ever went near it after the sun dipped below the horizon. Children were warned never to play close to it, lest they disturb the Orisha, spirit, that lived inside. Lovers were strictly warned never to meet under its vast canopy, for fear that the Iroko spirit would claim their passion and their lives as its own. Even the hunters, who walked fearlessly through the darkest jungle, refused to walk past it when the moon was full, whispering the name of the spirit, Ada. They said the Iroko tree was not just a tree, it was a powerful, sad spirit trapped between worlds, forever yearning for what she had lost. The air around it did not feel safe. It felt like a heavy blanket of forgotten grief. But one young man dared to go close, driven by a quiet loneliness that the village failed to feel. His name was Daniel. Daniel was a gentle soul, quiet, thoughtful, always with a faraway look in his eyes. He moved through life like a shadow, polite but rarely engaged in the loud, boisterous life of Ede. He carried the grief of his childhood like a soft weight. His mother had died when he was just 10, a memory that faded in detail but never in feeling. Since her death, the only tangible thing he had of her was a small, intricately carved wooden necklace. My son, she had told him, whenever you are afraid, hold this close to your heart, and I will be with you. This necklace is where my peace rests. Life was simple, but heavy. Daniel helped his father, an old farmer named Oga Nduka, on their small patch of yam and maize. He fetched water from the slow-moving stream, and sometimes, in the cool afternoons, he would sit under the village mango tree and play his bamboo flute. His melodies were always melancholic, telling stories of a loss no one else could hear. His father, Oga Nduka, watched him with increasing concern. Daniel, my son, he would say, why do you walk with your head in the clouds? The spirits of our ancestors, EHEN, they like a strong heart, not a sorrowful one. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that he was incomplete, forever searching for the melody his mother's voice had left behind. Everything changed one evening, the day he heard the voice. It was near dusk, the sun a low, bruised gold spreading across the dust of the path, painting the great Iroko tree in long, dark shadows. Daniel was returning from the farm, his hoe resting on his shoulder. He was walking quietly when he heard it, a soft, almost imperceptible humming. It was a woman's voice, a sissy's voice, gentle and sweet, carrying a tune that spoke of ancient sorrow and impossible beauty. It was coming directly from the dense, tangled roots of the tree. He stopped dead in his tracks. The hairs on his skin rose, a cold shiver running down his spine despite the evening heat. No one was supposed to be there. Yet, the song was so haunting, so exquisitely sorrowful, that it pulled at the lonely thread inside his chest. Taking a deep, shaky breath, Daniel crept nearer, dropping his hoe quietly into the dust. As he stepped past the boundary he'd been taught never to cross, he saw her. A figure, a young woman sitting with impossible grace at the base of the Iroko, her back against the massive trunk. Her long hair flowed like a river of black silk, cascading over her shoulders and onto the dirt. Her eyes, when he finally saw them, were distant and filled with a luminous, profound sadness. Daniel's heart began to race. He wanted to run, but something in her eyes held him rooted to the spot. Who are you? He asked, the words barely a whisper. The woman turned her head slowly towards him and smiled faintly. I could ask you the same, she said, her voice calm and almost musical. My name is Daniel, he managed. I live nearby. I didn't know anyone came here. I'm Ada, she replied simply. And I've been here for a very long time. He looked around. There was no trace of a hut or belongings. You live here? He asked, pointing vaguely at the massive tree trunk. She nodded slowly. You could say that. This tree, it keeps me here. It is my prison and my keeper. Daniel frowned. What do you mean, Ada? Her eyes glistened slightly in the failing light. You wouldn't believe me if I told you, Daniel of Ede. Try me, he insisted, his voice gentle and earnest. And that was how Daniel made the trapped spirit of the great Iroko tree. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He lay awake, the image of Ada, the sound of her voice echoing in his mind. He kept his secret tight, knowing the villagers would call him mad. But the next evening, he felt an irresistible pull and was back on the path. Ada was there again, sitting quietly. This time, her smile was brighter. You came back, she said. I had to, Daniel admitted. I wanted to see you again. Your voice, your story, it stayed with me. They talked for hours as the night deepened. They spoke of life's simple details, of Daniel's dreams, of Ada's sharp, insightful observations about the village life she silently watched. For Daniel, it felt as if he had found a mirror, a part of himself he never knew was missing. The loneliness that had shadowed his life began to retreat. Night after night, he returned. And each time, Ada seemed more and more alive. Her laughter became a clear, melodious sound that chased away the oppressive atmosphere of the tree. Her distant eyes grew warmer, focusing entirely on him. Daniel didn't know that with every visit, a piece of his quiet, simple life was slowly, irrevocably, binding itself to hers. He was falling deeply in love with the spirit. One evening, as they sat under the luminous, heavy moonlight, Ada knew she could no longer keep her truth from him. Daniel, she began, her voice suddenly low and serious. I must tell you why I am truly here. She told him her story. Long, long ago, she had been a vibrant young woman of Ede. She was in love with a strong hunter named Tunde, and they had planned to marry. But tragedy struck. A storm tore through the land, and Tunde was struck by lightning near the very spot where the Iroko tree, then only a young sapling, was struggling to grow. In her inconsolable grief, Ada ran blindly into the storm, crying Tunde's name. She fell, weeping and begging, at the roots of the small Iroko sapling. She cried out to the darkest gods, begging them to bring Tunde back, even if it meant giving up her own soul. The gods, cruel in their response, heard her cry. They brought Tunde back, Ada whispered, her voice choked with centuries of regret. He lived, he walked, he forgot me, and he married another woman. And I, she trailed off, touching the rough bark. I became one with the Iroko. My soul was trapped here, a silent watchman, a prisoner of my own desperate wish. Daniel's heart broke into 1,000 pieces. He reached out, but his fingers only touched the cool night air. So you've been here ever since, he whispered. Ada nodded slowly. Yes, I am the Iroko's secret. I can't live until someone loves me enough to set me free, not with pity, but with a pure, true love that chooses sacrifice over safety. Daniel looked at her, tears in his eyes, feeling the protective necklace under his shirt. Then I will love you, he vowed, his voice firm and steady. With all my heart, Ada, and I will find a way to set you free. As the weeks dragged on, Daniel's love for the spirit grew, but his life in Ede withered. He stopped going to the farm. Oga Nduka, his father, grew frantic with worry. Soon, the whispers started. The Iroko has claimed him, cried the market women. The spirit is draining his life force, making him forget his home. One night, Oga Nduka, driven by paternal terror, followed his son and watched Daniel talk intently to what seemed to be thin, empty air. To the old man, his son looked completely mad. When Oga Nduka confronted him the next morning, Daniel fell to his knees, begging his father to understand. She's not evil, Papa, he pleaded. She's just trapped by a terrible curse. But Oga Mduka's heart was closed by fear. He shook his head slowly. The Iroko tree takes, Daniel. It is a greedy, hungry thing. It never gives back. You must promise me, you must stay away. Daniel looked at the necklace he had worn since he was a boy. He loved his father, but he loved Ada more. He knew he couldn't stop. That very night, Daniel went back to the Iroko tree, knowing it would be his last visit as a man of Ede. Ada was waiting, her ethereal beauty dimmed, her eyes heavy with sorrow. You shouldn't have come, Daniel, she whispered. They'll never understand what we share. I don't care what they think, Daniel said, walking straight to her. I love you, Ada. Tell me, truly, how to set you free. Ada looked at him for a long, searching time. There's only one way, she said softly. A heart that truly loves, one that must willingly give itself to the tree. A life for a life, Daniel. Daniel didn't flinch. He took her spectral hand. Then take mine, he commanded. No, she cried, shaking her head. You'll die, Daniel. He smiled, a sad, peaceful curve of the lips. I'd rather die loving you, Ada, than live one more day without the hope of your freedom. Before she could stop him, Daniel unclasped the small, sacred necklace and placed it carefully at the base of the massive trunk, offering his only connection to the living world. Then, he pressed his palm against the rough, ancient bark. The earth beneath them instantly convulsed. The wind howled. The leaves above began to glow faintly, and Ada's entire spirit form shone like pure, liquid silver. Daniel, she cried, a final, despairing sound of love and grief. Why did you do this for me? Because you deserve to be free, he whispered, as his spirit began to lift. With a final, shattering burst of silver and emerald light, Ada's form vanished. Her soul was finally released from the prison of the Iroko. The great tree stood silent again. The wind stopped. The air settled, no longer thick with sorrow, but oddly light. When the anxious villagers and Oga Mduka came to the tree the next morning, they found Daniel lying peacefully under the tree, his hand still resting gently on its roots. He was gone, but his face carried a profound, calm smile, as if he had finally found peace. And where his body lay, a single white flower had blossomed, pure, bright, and untouched by the morning dew. From that day forward, no one ever heard strange, mournful humming or felt the oppressive fear of the ancient spirit near the Iroko tree again. Its leaves stopped whispering secrets of sorrow in the wind, and its entire presence felt calm, almost gentle. Some say the spirits of Daniel and Ada were finally together, bound not by the cause of a desperate wish, but by a love strong enough to break the chains of time and earth. And now, when the moonlight falls on the great Iroko tree, villagers say they can still see two shadows standing together under its branches, holding hands, finally free in a boundless space of their own.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.